Welcome back to Beyond the Cards. I'm Allison DiNicola, and it's my extreme pleasure to have Brett Bevell here today, the author of the Reiki Healing Card Deck. Welcome, Brett.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Allison.
It's so great to see you. I'm so thrilled to talk to you about this card deck. There's a lot to get into here, but just to introduce yourself and give people a little background. I'm gonna read what you share with me, and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
Reiki Master Brett Bevell is the author of several books, including Psychic Reiki, which I have here on my bookshelf, The Wizard's Guide to Energy Healing, The Reiki Magic Guide to Self-Attunement, and The Reiki for Spiritual Healing book. Brett is also a leader in the field of energy healing apps, first exploring this concept in 2013 through his book, New Reiki Software for Divine Living. That's quite interesting. And also now offering his energy healing work through the Solvana app by Mind Valley. His latest work is the Reiki Divine Healing Card Deck, published by US Games. So we're thrilled to have you in our authorship. Um, I wanted to say this before I ask you about your spiritual journey, but I do want to just share that the first time I met you was, I think it was in Mount Kisco
Mhm.
several years ago, maybe like 10 years ago, could be that long ago. I don't know, maybe. And You were doing a spinal zap healing. And I had the most profound experience in that healing session. And so I think that was like kind of the start of our, just knowing each other.
Yeah,
So I'd love for you to share about that a little bit, but if you could back up a little bit and just share with people how you got started down this powerful road of healing that you're on.
sure. Yeah. So I started my energy healing journey in the early 1990s with Reiki. And I got started into Reiki because I had a bad dental experience and had a swollen jaw. And my roommate happened to be a Reiki practitioner and did some Reiki on me. And I really loved that experience, found it to be very helpful. So I wanted to learn more about Reiki and got my first degree Reiki in 1993. And then kind of, fast forward through time, by 1995, I got my master level. And then I moved to San Francisco. And while I was in San Francisco, I met this very old Huna shaman who was very short and very old, kind of reminded me of Yoda. He had actually known Hawaii Takata, and he had actually said he'd been part of helping convince her to move from Hawaii to San Francisco. And again, Hawaii Takata is the person who brought Reiki to the West from Japan. And so in my studies with him, I wasn't studying Reiki with him because I was already a master level, but I began studying different shamanic practices and what would happen if I blended together some of these shamanic practices with certain Reiki practices. Would it widen the spectrum of possibility of what a person could do with Reiki? And then I really would just kind of experiment with these processes on myself. And I found the answer was a very clear yes. And so that began my first book about Reiki. And then by the time I got like to, I'm giving you the timeline here.
Mhm.
In 2007, while I was in Laos, I had a very mystical experience that included a visitation from the founder of Reiki, Mikao Usui. And from him, I felt this ball of white light go into the area of my heart chakra. That white light was an energetic crystal made out of the light of Reiki. And so that spawned this concept of what I call psychic Reiki, because what I found is if I spoke to that crystal with my mind or with my voice, it would send Reiki to whatever I asked it to. And so that, spawned the book, New Reiki Software for Divine Living, as well as the book, Psychic Reiki, this concept of working with the Reiki crystal. And so again, I'm giving you like a real fast forward here.
Mhm.
Then the deck basically is each card is empowered to its own Reiki crystal. So the cards in the deck can actually send you energy healing, which is what I find to be really unique and playful and fun. I've been having a lot of fun with the deck myself. Now I have also trained in some other energy healing modalities, vortex healing being one of them, and then also have developed my own modality that I call Magical Awakening, which is very Merlin based. But all these things, to me, I see them as spectrums on a rainbow, and just like the
Mhm.
light of a rainbow, it's all coming from the sun. I feel like all these energies are coming from one source, and yet there's a difference between the colors on a rainbow, right? So to me, Reiki feels different than vortex healing, which feels different than magical awakening. So all these beautiful energetic colors can bring powerful healing to a person. But right now I'm really focused on the Psychic Reiki and the beautiful deck that just was released by US Games. So
Awesome. It's amazing. I what resonates with me is that I'm not a purist at all. And
yeah,
my own journey have been blending different things, learning from Eastern traditions and, shamanic tradition and kind of blending all those things together. And I think um, everybody creating their own, kind of approach which suits you or suits your soul, so to
yeah.
speak. So I love this deck. It really speaks to me in that way because there's a lot of things in here. So I wanted to just before I we share about the inside of the deck and what's in there. I know that when you got started this, Ben Chikowitz is the artist. So I know you guys are personally connected. How did you approach creating this? What was the approach to getting this together? Because I understand as a creator, mapping out a card deck can be quite tricky.
Yeah, so as soon as I knew that there was interest from US Games in a deck, and I was invited to explore different artists, and I think some artists were recommended by US Games, and I looked at them and they were very competent, it looked like, but I was also looking online. I was also very aware that there's some very wonderful artists who I've been exposed to through my work at Omega Institute, one of which is Ben Chikowitz, who had actually worked with me. He used to do art classes for the staff at Omega. And I was looking at his work online, and it really hit me that some of the cards that I had envisioned from the deck were already created in the paintings that he had already painted, right? And it's not that all the deck he had already created, but I think maybe five or
Mm-hmm.
six of the cards, they were already in existence. For example, this first one, which is the cover, right?
Mm-hmm.
He had already made that painting, and in my mind, like that's a perfect painting to do what I call a Reiki dream healing. And so there's also a painting that he had done of our dear friend Amina Eagle, and she
Mm-hmm.
had worked at Omega for many years. She really embodied this sense of kindness, like so kind. And to me, that painting embodied the sense of the Reiki precept, just for today, I will be kind to every living thing. So there were paintings already in existence in what I was seeing of his work online. They're like, oh, that could be a card in the deck. That could be. So there were
Mm-hmm.
several cards already in existence. So I'm like, he's the right guy. So that was kind of how I chose Ben. And again, we've worked together for many years, so we already had a friendship, and so it went very well from there.
Yeah, perfect union, right? You just have
Yeah.
the right place and right time. So the deck is divided into different suits. So it is an oracle deck. I'm showing the book cover. This is one of the cards. I'm actually charging my water on this card right now, as suggested. But what is really interesting is that you decided to group things into, rather than just sequential numbers. You decided to group things into four groupings, and you call them suits. The suit of Reiki's foundation, the suit of Reiki divine beings, angels and saints, the suit of Reiki meditations, and the suit of Reiki treatments. So, can you share a little bit about that? And
Sure. So in that process, so the suit of Reiki Foundations has images of some of the symbols, also the image of Mikawasui, and again, each card is programmed with unique Reiki vibration that it's going to send to you. So, for example, the Reiki card of Mikawasui has a Reiki portal in that card that actually connects you with the spirit of Mikawasui to kind of bring his energy into a healing or deeper into a meditation if you want guidance on your own Reiki journey. Each of the cards in that suit, again, are also empowered. So, for example, there's the chokore symbol, right? The power symbol. So that
Mhm.
card is actually designed to send the energy of chokore. If you want it to, you just simply make a verbal request. Yes.
Mhm.
And so you can almost like develop your own little treatment just using that the suit of foundations. You could do a traditional Reiki treatment just out of that suit. The suit of divine beings, angels, and saints is where I take that concept of a Reiki portal. And so there's Reiki portals literally that are in there to specific archangels like
Mhm.
Metatron, Gabriel, Raphael, Michael, also different divine beings, Jesus, Buddha, Amma, Neem Karoli Baba. And so there was a Reiki portal. So when you look at the card, it's bringing an energy in that's actually outside of Reiki. It's bringing in the energy of that divine being, right? So you can sit there and just like meditate on the Amma card, and you almost feel like you're about to get a hug from her or something. Or you
Yeah.
can meditate on the Jesus card, and you feel this huge Christ energy coming through the card. So it's really beautiful, and it's like an additional layer that can be added into the healing when using the deck for that. The suit of meditations. So one of the beautiful things about the Reiki crystal, again, which I spoke about earlier, is that it can bring people very quickly into specific meditative states, like for inner peace, forgiveness, self-love, strength, all those kinds of different meditative states we'd want to look at. And so the suit of meditations is just beautiful cards that each one designed to bring you into specific meditation. And so
Hmm.
there's one for stillness and inner peace that I really love. There's also one for self-love that's really beautiful, especially when you invite the cards to bring it in at the cellular level. And then the last suit is the suit of Reiki treatments. And again, because some of the treatments are very specific to the psychic Reiki modality that I've developed, one of which I'll just talk about right now, this concept of what I call Reiki lasers, where the Reiki crystal can create intense beams of Reiki light between any 2 points in time and space. So for the Reiki laser card, which is one of the treatments, I'll often invite it to connect Reiki lasers running from each and every bone in the body to each and every other bone in the body, manifesting a beautiful web of Reiki light existing inside of a person. And that alone can be its own Reiki treatment. So what I love about the deck is there's these different, pillars with the different suits, and then you can
Hmm.
combine those and weave them together for really beautiful, beautiful and powerful healings.
So, what strikes me is that people that don't know anything about Reiki can pick this deck up. And so there's like a self-learning, the self-teaching aspect of the deck, right? So if you don't know anything about Reiki, you can have this deck and you can kind of self-teach, right? You can embody the Reiki energies. But if you're a Reiki master, you can really take this deck. So it's a multi-level card deck. You could take this deck and really like kapow, like create some really, really intentional healing practices, either for yourself or your clients. It just seems to be like a huge range of what's possible here. Um,
Yeah, I got to jump in on that because even I, as the creator of the deck, it's still finding like wow, I didn't realize it could do this, And so like one of the really cool things about the deck, again, each card is empowered to its own Reiki crystal,
mhm,
right? So even in traditional Reiki, the idea is that the energy has a divine intelligence to it, right? So if the energy has a divine intelligence to it, then an energetic crystal that is made out of that energy is also going to have its divine intelligence to it. So you've got 44 cards that each have their own intelligence, their own wisdom, and that are also empowered to be able to send very potent energy. And we're going to demonstrate that in a minute here.
mhm,
Um, and so what I found is if you bring several cards together, 3, 4 cards, 6 cards, whatever, in a healing, and if you ask the cards to activate and to synchronize their energy, they'll come up like with the perfect alchemical blend based on all those cards, and you send you this like wallop of energy that's just really amazing. I mean, I have to share that a few weeks ago I was doing a live event at the Omega Institute where I also work. And that particular week, there were also some veterans on campus doing some deep, PTSD work, right? And the event was packed. It was a packed house. We had a lot of people in there, and I did a healing on everyone in the room, a group healing, just using the cards. So I wasn't sending; I was just asking the cards to send healing into the room, and the vets loved it. I mean, they were so kind of awestruck by it that they actually ended up telling some people who then told the CEO, and she came and congratulated me several days after the event, saying, "Wow, I heard this great things about your cards." And so, for me, this isn't just like all woo woo. I mean, I can live in that very woo woo place, but what I'm saying is that these cards can bring very grounded, palpable energy healing to anyone. You don't need to be a Reiki practitioner. I mean, if you are, great, but even if you're not, you can still use the cards to send Reiki to yourself and to send Reiki to others and to hopefully learn more about Reiki. And hopefully the deck would inspire
mhm.
people to want to, become trained in Reiki. But even if you don't have that training, you can still use the deck because each card is its own powerful healer.
Yeah, it's really incredible. Congratulations on that. And as I shared right in the beginning, I had that experience with you the first time I met you, I had been, I don't know how I've been to Omega, several times and been doing my own things for a long time. And I went to an event that you were doing, and it was like incredible energy running through the room. So I'll say this as somebody who's very verbal and verbose, like leading yoga nidra meditations and all sorts of workshops that are very vocal. Brett's healing is really like incredibly powerful and like mostly silent. So I was like, I don't really know what's happening here until this incredible like light went through the center line of my body, and I relived like probably every past lifetime within 30 minutes, all the way back to the evolution of my soul. And I got up and I was like, all right, oh wow, that was just so amazing. So yeah, I know how powerful just your practices are, and how pure your intention is. And I think that's always the basis of the most powerful healing, when the person who's kind of there, holding the space, really want this for the highest good. So I can feel that coming out of this deck.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And again, it's our connection.
Yeah.
You're the inspiration for this happening when you mentioned that to me after that event. So
Yeah, but you made it happen. This was the card I pulled this morning. I pulled number 9, the Reiki Sphere of Divine Grace, which you've just been speaking about. So as a pure oracle deck, like if somebody picked this up and they pulled a card, um, what do you suggest they do for, is it read the healing suggestion, read the practice, or just meditate on the card? What would be
So
the
I
advice?
would say simply would be to ask the card for healing. So again, that's, yes, you can use it as an oracle and it can totally be used in that way. But for me, the even deeper level of it is that card can actually send you healing. So the Reiki Sphere of Divine Grace is a concept from Psychic Reiki where the Reiki crystal will create around you a beautiful bubble or a beautiful egg or sphere of Reiki light that envelops you on all levels. So you see it as this being surrounded in this huge egg of Reiki, and it to me it feels like you're just being kind of like held by the universe. It's a really beautiful sensation. So that's really good for somebody who maybe is going through stress or just like needs some energetic space. That kind of sense of just totally being surrounded with this beautiful light of Reiki. It can also be very relaxing. So
Mm.
again, my recommendation would be to ask that card to send Reiki either to you, at the moment that you pick it, or to send Reiki into your day for that, so that's kind of
Mm.
sending a blessing to your day.
I like that. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. I know that you're going to share a bit of your healing, healing with us. But
Yeah.
before we do that, I just want to ask you, if there's any other, I always like to ask whoever comes on the podcast, if there's any other superpower. I know you have a lot of superpowers, honestly, but if there's any other like fun fact or something maybe that people don't ordinarily know about you that you would be willing to share.
Well, I mean, I used to be a poet. You know, I used to, one of my poems was on NPR many years ago, so it doesn't really relate to energy healing so much, but
Yeah.
I used to be a poet and had, that was my dream at one point, was like, I'm going to be, superstar poet. I didn't end up being I did have a poem on NPR once, but, that was my sort of former career before I got into the world of energy healing.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. So yeah, so we'll welcome some healing to come through. And then we'll wrap up after that.
Yeah. So I'm going to do a short healing, and this is totally coming from the cards. I'm not sending any, so I'm going to show you the cards that I picked, and then I'll just do several what I call layers, where I pull more and more cards, and we just do a short layered healing. So the first 3 cards are these cards, and it's the Reiki crystal card, also the treatment for organs and organ systems healing, and then also Reiki lasers. And so I'm going to ask these cards to activate and synchronize. And I'm also going to ask the Reiki lasers, because with those I have to specify, asking the Reiki lasers to connect from each and every bone in your body to each and every other bone in your body for everybody watching this video. So asking them to send that healing out now. And as they're doing that, I'm just going to pick more cards, and we're going to go through more and more layers of healing here. So just picked 3 more. The next 3, we have the chakra ray symbol. We've got Reiki for cellular meditation, and we have the Universal Reiki Healing Grid. So I'm asking these cards to activate and synchronize and send their healing light out to you now and to anybody who watches this video later. And I'm going to pick a few more cards here. We've got Etheric Body Reiki. We've got Ila'ama, the Hugging Saint. And we've got Joy. And so I'm going to ask you these cards to activate and synchronize and send their healing light out to you now. And again, I'm just randomly picking through some cards here. And then we've got 3 more cards. We've got the Asui Master symbol. We have Archangel Michael. And we have Chakra Reiki, so Reiki going to the chakras, asking these cards to activate and synchronize and send their healing light out to you now. I'll do a couple more and then I'll wrap it up. And these next 3 cards, we have Neem Karoli Baba, we have Archangel Raphael, and we've got Seiki for mental emotional healing. And asking these cards to activate and synchronize and send their healing light out to you now. And again, out to all who are watching this. And then I'm going to end it with this one card, which is one of the Reiki meditations, which is just for today, I will be grateful. And asking this card to bring you, everyone who watches this, into a Reiki meditation for gratitude and for being grateful. So just inviting that card to do that now. So we'll end with a little gratitude. And so in this case, I was just, randomly picking the cards out and kind of letting them do what they wanted to do. But in the book, there are specific spreads that you can do for very specific healings. One of which that I found is very powerful is that there's this spread in there for healing ancestral trauma, where you pick a card that's for you, a card that represents your mother, a card that represents your father, a card that represents your mother's lineage, a card that represents your father's lineage. And you ask those cards to activate and synchronize and to send deep healing through all of your ancestral lines, right? So not that it's sending Reiki directly to your mother or father or grandparents, but it's sending to those energetic lines that are between you and your parents and you and your grandparents and you and your great-grandparents, just to clear up any trauma or any stuff that we might be holding on to regarding that. And I do have just one more share that I want to mention. A couple months ago, I was in a car accident, literally almost like a few weeks after the deck came out. And, when you're in an accident, physically I was fine. My car was totaled, but physically I was fine. My wife was in the car. There was a lot of emotion, like tied up in angst and so there's a forgiveness deck. Now, there's a forgiveness card in the deck. And I put that forgiveness card on my altar and I asked, let's have forgiveness for everyone who's part of this accident, everyone who was involved with it, myself, the other person in the accident, my wife, anybody who was involved, the insurance companies, all that tangled mess of energy. Let's just ask for forgiveness on all levels. And I held that on my card. And every day I would get up and just ask the cards to send a forgiveness treatment. I have to say, that accident has been like the most smooth. I've been in a couple car accidents before, not many, but a couple. And sometimes the energy can be very tangled. It was just so smooth, so easy. Everything about dealing with the car insurance was easy. Getting a new car was easy. Everything would just like float. And I really think it's because I was coming at it from that place of forgiveness, which the cards brought me there, And so that's just another way that a person can use the deck, just picking an issue, putting that card on your altar every day and just asking it to continue sending energy out. So I just wanted to share that story as well.
Beautiful. And so much with intention, right? But you're giving it there's a little extra helper there with your intention.
Yeah.
So I love that. And I love the ancestral healing. I feel like that's really important right now as as we're rising up a bit to start to really clear the path as best we can. So I'm going to get on that today. I'm going to do that one. I've been charging my water with a Reiki power symbol.
Beautiful.
So that's one. I love any kind of attunement to water. That's one of my things. So just sharing that with a group. If you're watching, that's a beautiful way to use the cards as well. So this has just been wonderful, Brett. So enlightening. It's so great to hear from the creators how the cards are intended to be used, and all the ideas about doing it, because I do find it's unless I'm sure Omega has, so just as you heard mentioned, Brett has been working for Omega for how many years now, Brett?
25 years.
Oh, wow. Yeah. 25 years, Omega Institute. So just an amazing place. He does lots of trainings, all different kinds of trainings and Reiki conferences and things. And we'll include all your links here in this podcast. So if people want to get in touch with you. But, unless I have found always, unless stores have demos, it's hard to figure out what's inside of the card deck. So it's really nice to have gotten the visual and the ideas on how to use it. So many thanks.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
Yeah. So thank you for being here, and we'll include all of your information there. And best of luck. Thank you for the healing energies today.
Well, thank
Namaste.
you.